Hey, happy Tuesday. So I'm hoping this is fully functional and working because I am obviously coming to you from my phone. I guess I can check really quick on the computer. I just didn't want to fuss with it. Last couple weeks having so many issues with the computer, and we just got lucky on Sunday. I wasn't going to push my luck. So let's jump right in. It says I am. So we should be good. So let's jump right in. On Sunday, we did an intuitive healing session, and Penny showed up and got a little bit of work done. We talked about a lot of different things, and one of the things that she asked was to go over some myofascial release holds, and I told her I would spend 20 minutes talking to you about that here. So let's talk about myofascial release and also cranial-sacral therapy, because they kind of go hand in hand. Different, very, but they're both very soft touch techniques, very light-handed techniques. And they both address parts of the body that are undervalued, under-acknowledged. Unless you know, you know. Unless you know, then you know. Anyway, so myofascial release impacts the fascia system. I highly recommend looking up, if you're not super familiar with fascia and how it works and why. Highly recommend looking it up on YouTube. There's a TED Talk. I think you can just go to YouTube and search, or even just Google and search probably fascia TED Talk, and it'll come up. It's short, it's quick, but it is very impactful and helps to understand exactly the impact that fascia has on the body. Fascia holds things in place. Fascia holds all of our insides on the inside and helps us keep our shape, okay? Yes, there are tendons and ligaments that help hold the bones together. Yes, the muscles move the bones, but without fascia, we wouldn't have the shape that we have. And fascia can really easily impact your range of motion because it holds our shape and it affects our shape. So go check out YouTube for that TED Talk if you're not really sure exactly how fascia works. Cranial-sacral therapy involves more than just the cranium and the sacrum, which is in the pelvis area. Cranial-sacral therapy impacts things like cerebral spinal fluid and that motion. And so the one thing that all modalities have in common is that the goal is to get things moving again. Okay. So when we're talking about massage, and we're looking at things like improved circulation and lymphatic drainage. When we are doing massage, myofascial release, or cranial-sacral therapy, we can improve nerve signals and range of motion and impact spinal fluid. And if you understand what spinal fluid is, you understand that it delivers some really important information from the body to the brain and from the brain to the body. And having it being able to flow is very important. So cranial-sacral therapy impacts that flow of fluid, but also these very minute movings within the body. So we talk about respiration and pulse, heart rate, right? Circulation. What most people don't understand is that there is an underlying flow, an underlying cycle, an underlying type of respiration that involves spinal fluid. And it is crucial to survival and our vitality. So that being said, that's where cranial-sacral comes in. Also, a lot of people don't necessarily think about or realize that skull bones are not fully fused. So when babies are born, their heads need to kind of be able to smush to be able to be brought into the world in a natural manner. And we talk about them, getting that hole in the top of the head that solidifies, that fuses. But realistically, our skull bones never fully fuse. They have sutures. Our bones suture together, which still allows some movement. It's not smooth movement, right? It's tough movement, but we're talking about very minute movements that are thinner than a sheet of paper, okay? So we're not even talking about like this. We're talking about it's this big of a movement. This little edge of the piece of paper, big of a movement, okay? It's a very minute movement, but it happens, and it's crucial to life. In fact, in cranial-sacral therapy, that cycle is actually called the breath of life. And it is, I don't know how, like, I know that they've scientifically measured the breath of life, those minute movements. They've scientifically measured that. It is part of that instinctual moment when the baby takes its first breath. It's part of that. Hence breath of life, right? Okay, so when it comes to myofascial release and cranial-sacral therapy, I took a certification for these modalities, okay? And I learned specific holds. And I think that's great, you know? And I think that to some extent it needed to be done. It needed to be taught that way. Much like when I took my K-tape, kinesiology taping, when I took that certification, that was one of my favorite certifications because I learned the foundation, which is how much stretch to apply, what types of shapes you should cut your tape in to affect, you know, a certain outcome, to create a certain outcome. And then we were taught certain applications, but I don't remember all of the applications. I don't memorize them because I was taught the foundation of the type of cut to my tape and how much stretch I should or shouldn't use depending on what result I'm trying to create, which means that I have the ultimate freedom to create whatever, right? Like I can just be like, okay, here's the problem. This is the result that I'm looking to create with my tape. And therefore I'm going to use this shape with this much stretch and we're going to apply it and we're going to be done. It doesn't matter. I don't have to get a book. I don't have to reference it. It's just, I know it's going to work because I have an understanding of the anatomy and how the tape works and how it will influence the body, the anatomy, to create the result that I'm looking for. Now, to some extent, I believe that like I benefited from seeing the holds in myofascial release and in cranial-sacral therapy. However, I find now that it is much like my K-tape certification where I don't use specific holds. I don't follow a specific pattern. I take the foundation of what I know about anatomy, the issue that I see before me, some level of restriction or pain, and I know where to put my hands in order to create a certain result. And that isn't because I learned particular holds, right? The holds I do now are based on interruptions from my dogs. The holds I do now are based on my experience, my intuition. So I don't teach specific myofascial release or cranial-sacral holds in the main body of the intuitive Equine bodyworker certification program for a few reasons. One, as previously mentioned, I use intuition and my knowledge of anatomy and things like that. So, and this is the intuitive bodywork certification program. So it's like, I want to teach you to rely on your intuition. I don't want to teach you to follow a specific pattern that you have to stick to and adhere to, right? I want you to trust yourself. So that is the focus of this program. And, you know, furthermore, like there are entire certifications for myofascial release and cranial-sacral therapy. And I would be doing you a disservice if I was like, just take my program and learn all the things. Like you can't learn it all at once. And it's already overwhelming. Ask Penny, ask Sarah, ask Alex. Like the program itself is a lot of information to take in. And if I add more with these particular holds, like it's too much. My goal with the Intuitive Equine Bodywork Certification Program is to get you to create results. Teach you what you need to know to create results, to solve problems, to relieve pain for the horses, to relieve stress for owners, and to build yourself a successful business, which is done technically in two programs, right? The certification program and additionally Keys to the Kingdom, growing your Equine Therapy Business Program. They're two different programs, but you get both when you buy the certification program, because if you're going to have a certification, you might as well know how to use it as a business. If I added in everything you need to know about myofascial and everything you need to know about CranialSacral, it's way too much. It's way too much. Like we touch on a lot of different modalities in the program because we're talking bodywork. And I am going to teach you, I do teach in the massage portion some myofascial release. And we do talk about cranial-sacral therapy because it lines right up with delivering Reiki, with just white light healing energy. However you want to look at that, it is an energy modality, and everybody should be equipped with the bare minimum, in my opinion, when you start out, because there's always a place for it. So in terms of like specific holds, to address Penny's original question, like I'm not going to teach that in the certification program, and I'm not going to share it here, because here y'all haven't even expressed an interest in performing body work on your own horses. So I'm not going to go ahead and just share you all the stuff that you haven't even expressed a desire for, right? There are people out there on the internet that are teaching you myofascial release for free, and they're not even calling it myofascial release because people aren't understanding that myofascial release is basically just laying on of hands. It doesn't have to be more complicated than that. It's a very simple process. It's done with intention, right? And, furthermore, once you get to a certain point in the bodywork program, in the certification program, you can choose to enter into an additional Telegram chat, which has all of your additional mentoring for when you get to it, right? And also after you are certified. So there's a point in the certification where you have the option to join this group, and then it's there for you for the rest of time for the purpose of expanding on some of the things that we've talked about. Because again, the main body of the certification program is enough information. Nobody needs more than that. I did my best to make it so that it was never overwhelming, but if I would have put more in there, it would have become more overwhelming. You don't need to know those holds to be successful. You don't need to know cranial-sacral or myofascial release so in depth and thoroughly to be successful. But when we get to that Telegram group for mentoring, for post-certification, and for more conversations, then we can talk about these holds if they become relevant. But really, the whole purpose of this program, the Intuitive Equine Bodywork Certification, is for you to learn to trust yourself. Not just blindly trusting, but trusting that you've also taken in the anatomy portion of the program, which I stress in there is arguably the most important part. Because if you understand the function of anatomy, if you understand how the body works, then it becomes easy to create your own solutions. So that's the other thing. It's like in this program, we create solution orientation. We focus on solution orientation so that you can trust yourself to just know what to do next. So when you come to me in the Telegram group and you say, hey, I have this case, I feel like myofascial release or cranial-sacral therapy would be really beneficial, or I read that it would be really beneficial. Here's what I've done so far. Here's my thoughts. That's my expectation. My expectation is that you present the case and you say, this is what's going on. And then you tell me what you've done. Because what I have learned, like the most solid thing that I've learned, is always, always, always do what you think is right first. And then give it a minute, let it sit. And then if you're not successful after a few massages, then we can say, okay, what am I doing? What am I doing wrong? Or what am I missing? It's never what am I doing wrong? Because it's not necessarily that you're doing something wrong. It's just maybe that you missed something. And that's totally fine, especially in the beginning, right? Even now, even as a seasoned veteran, even as someone that educates, I expect to miss things sometimes because I'm not a perfect being, right? Nobody is. So when it comes down to it, you don't need specific holds. You just need to understand what you're impacting when you place your hands on the horse. And that is done truly through the anatomy portion, not through specific myofascial or cranial-sacral holds. And one of the most powerful things, so if you're watching this and you are in the certification program, I hope your ears are perking up. Because one of the most important things that you will ever do and need to understand, and will, like, the thing that will just take your understanding and your ability and your skill sets and all of things. The one thing is your intention. Your intention combined with your belief changes everything. You do not need to know CranialSacral holds, myofascial holds, even a massage sequence. You can simply sit with closed eyes and envision the solution that you desire to create. Will it to be true? Will it to happen? And I know that there are people out there that are going to be super skeptical about this, but I can tell you, as someone that has done it, intention and belief, over and over and over and over again. And you will see it. You will see the change. So here's a story. Story time! And then I think we'll about wrap it up. Yesterday. Okay, so I'm in Michigan. This freaking weather. Someone get Mother Nature a burners. She needs it. I don't even like burners. I think it's gross. But anyway, this weather is up and down, which on one hand, I'm very grateful. I'm grateful for the reprieve from the heat. But I'm sure you can probably hear that my nose is like one nostril. This nostril right now is stuffy. Earlier it was this one, and last night it was this one. And it's totally because we're going from upper 80s and 90 to freaking 47 at night. And I think it's interesting too, while I'm here, before I start the whole story, isn't it interesting that we have those kinds of weather changes like this time of year and people aren't panicking? And like, my horse is going to colic from these weather changes. But if it were winter and we had this kind of weather change, people would be freaking out. I've never experienced that. So, I mean, no judgment if you've had really bad luck with that. But I've never experienced colic from a weather shift. Anyway, point is, yesterday was going to be no more than 69 degrees. So you bet your butthole I was out there trimming feet yesterday. And today's the same. Today's going to be right around 70. I got another horse to trim, and then everybody's going to be right on schedule, which is great. Side note, it's great because I'm going to be gone next week. So I'm going to be gone next week. There will be no Tuesday Tales. Okay. So I was out. I trimmed feet. Bruce did a great job. Made a few interesting observations about how his feet have changed. And as I was getting ready to head back up to the house, mind you, everybody's got a hay pile, okay? Everybody's eating hay. I don't feed a ton of hay right now, but it's just like little fun snacks, okay? Because we still have grass. But they're getting some fun snacks. And I threw hay out, and Lightning left his hay pile and came up to me. And, like, he approached me, okay? And instantly, I'm like, what's up? What do you need? Why aren't you eating your hay? You need to eat your hay because Lightning is the thinnest of the herd, right? We're still battling some things, trying to get some weight on him. And I knew what he wanted, right? Intuitionally, I knew he was asking for some body work. And I don't do a whole lot of hands-on with him because he is so thin. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do some energy work on you. And his weakness is his hind end. Like, poor horse has been through the ringer. He's 20 this year, or did he just turn 21? I think he just turned 20. I think he turned 21 this year, and I just don't do a good job of keeping track of age. And he had 10 very rough years. He stopped racing when he was 11. Stopped racing when he was 11, went to the Amish, had 10 years with the Amish as a road horse. And it really just wore on him, especially because even in racing, his feet weren't right, okay? Like, his feet were just not ideal for his body. So he's got a lot of hind end stuff going on. And I knew his pelvis was out of whack. So generally what's going on with his pelvis, I'm not going to go into it here. But what's going on with his pelvis is something that I would address majority of the issue with myofascial release, massage and myofascial release. However, again, he's just so thin. Could I still do it? Yeah, absolutely. But I really felt called to offer him an energetic alignment session, right? So I sat down and envisioned the work I would do just as if I was putting my hands on him. I sent him white light healing energy. I sent him good vibes and had the intention for this to make a difference. And there was a visible change in his body. This is not the only example of this. Leanne does this a lot with CranialSacral work, so I know she can speak to this, where especially, I know she worked on one horse. I'm going to have Leanne and I are going to have to get together and have a chat so you guys can hear it. Hold on one second. I think that's it. I think. Anyway. So, I know that Leanne has worked on a horse where it was like her energy, just her being her, and she wasn't the only one, was too much for that horse. She couldn't touch him without him getting really upset. But she sat in a chair 10 feet away and did CranialSacral work, and they took a before picture of his face and an after picture of his face, and you could see a night and day difference. So energy work is no joke. It is 100% viable, very effective. Probably more so for some horses than others, because some really get something out of that person to horse connection, that hands-on touch, and others don't. Others aren't ready for it, right? So anyways, I'm going to wrap this up. Happy Tuesday. Intention and belief over everything else. Study your anatomy, know your anatomy, understand the basis of what you're trying to affect and why, and like how it works, so that you can understand why what you are going to apply with your hands or with your energy would be a viable solution. Also, side note, you don't have to understand all of that if you're just going to send white light healing energy or set in your mind that the intention is that you want them to heal and you want them to have proper alignment. You can do all of that. You don't have to know the anatomy stuff. You will still be very helpful just sending the intention for healing in proper alignment, ideal alignment, optimal alignment. So there you go. Again, I will be out of town next week, so no Tuesday Tales. Thank you guys for being here. Thanks for being in this group. I super appreciate it. Again, when it comes to your horse's functional ability, his functionability, or her functional ability, how do you feel I can specifically help you? Let me know. Ask me the questions. What do you want to know? I'm here to help. 20 minutes every Tuesday, except for next Tuesday. So, all right, guys, get out there, do some fun pony shit, and we'll talk to you next time. Maybe. There we go.